You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 223rd episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. This is 2018 Shawamigan Showdown winner Tim Hayes in Orlando, Florida.
This is Matt Gas Tax Allen in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And this is Spencer in Boston, Massachusetts, where I'm still trying to get my legal team together to look into the Shawamigan results due to some shenanigans, which I can't really go into based on legal grounds.
Hey guys, big race today. Let's just cut to the chase.
Thanks.
Let's get
I had
to
a
the
big
results
race.
Of the big...
Oh, you're talking about me?
We had a really
okay.
We had a really big worldwide race today.
So Gloucester
Green Acres
Cyclocross happened.
No,
in Boston.
Green Acres.
No.
Day 2 in the mud.
Guys, I know you think this is a bit. This is not a bit. We had a really big race today that we need to
Gloucester.
discuss.
Yeah, we know.
It's the
Green
20th
Acres in the mud.
anniversary. Huge UCI race, biggest on the Eastern Seaboard. Really special event.
I think it was 11th anniversary and it snowed.
Guys, you seriously?
Okay.
Can we talk about it?
Lombardy was yesterday.
Today was Ironman Louisville, and Andrew Talansky got 11th place.
Oh wow, that is big. That's huge.
Yes, this is
right outside the top 10.
This is the news.
I take it all back.
Well,
yeah.
Yes,
I stand corrected.
You guys,
I guess
you guys sitting here trying to interrupt me this whole time about Gloucester and Green Acres and some race in Italy, when the important news that we have not been keeping track of Andrew Talansky's Ironman career.
No, guilty as charged,
guys. Now, today was like the B squad Ironman because all the actual real Ironman athlete. Well, sorry, not real. They're all real athletes. Asterisks, but a lot of them were in Kona for the World Championships, which was on, I believe, Saturday. But Sunday was in Louisville, and I have an expert Ironman friend, Graham Partain. You know him. He rides a sleeveless jersey. We've discussed it before. He told me that they had to shorten the swim today at the Ironman in Louisville because of the river. You know, the river that ruined the World Championships?
Yeah, or made it better.
For cyclocross? Yeah. They had to, it was a down river swim, and it was only like 9/10 of a mile. So everyone's got like an asterisk on their results. But here's the crazy thing. Talansky only got 6th on the bike out of everybody.
Well, the bike's last,
like his
right?
bike's, no, that's second.
Oh, he's probably tired.
But his bike split was 6th overall.
I mean, that kind of tracks as far as his whole career goes. You know what I mean?
Ouch.
And then his marathon time, he got 12th overall. He ran a 3.5 hour marathon. He has to chop basically 30 minutes off that marathon time to be competitive for Kona, which was earlier in the weekend on Saturday. And Patrick Lang won that in a time of 7 hours and 52 minutes.
That's
over a guy named Bart Arnouts from Belgium.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, Bart Arnouts.
Bart Arnouts, who was a former cross racer.
I don't know. I mean,
Bart,
maybe.
Really?
I have a feeling there's a lot of guys named Bart Arnouts.
Yeah, I think
Belgium.
that's like Jim Smith.
No way. This story was really boring, and this just got really interesting to me. Bart Arnouts, my favorite little teeny short crosser from like 2005 through 2012.
Maybe.
Sure, little guy. But friend of the podcast, Sarah True, you may remember as Sarah Groff prior to marriage, U.S. Olympian. She got 4th overall in the women's side of Kona. So
that's impressive.
Some of that podcast love is actually going over to this other side of the sport. So anyways, that ends the podcast. I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and we pretty much just crushed cycling coverage worldwide.
How does
minutes.
Tim, maybe you know this, how does Iron Man, as they call it, work? Is the bike part overseen by the UCI and the running is overseen by the running international and the swimming by the swimming internationals?
This is a really good question, little guy.
Thanks.
Ironman is actually overseen by the private organization called the World Triathlon Council, which is owned by the billionaire guy from China that bought it.
Okay.
And they have Ironmans all over the world. Like, I think this weekend alone, there's like 6 of them worldwide. Like half Ironman. There's like a half Ironman in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And so they're all over. But then they do drug testing. Kind of. Like every now and then someone will get popped.
That's like what I do. I occasionally do drug testing on people.
Kind
of.
Anyways, it's a crazy event. And you guys, we did a podcast once from there when I was there. I mean, it's insane to see what they're doing, and nothing but respect. I could never do one. I don't want to spend too much more time on it, but it is entertaining from a pure athletic standpoint. Mm-hmm. Daniela Riff took the win in the women's side over Lucy Charles and Anne Huang of Germany. Okay. So anyways, pretty cool to see, but let's get to the real news. Let's get to Gloucester. Spencer, anything exciting in cyclocross in New England?
Everything about cyclocross in New England is exciting. Come on. No, Gloucester was this weekend. It's the 20th anniversary, like I mentioned earlier. It was another spectacular event. That thing is second to none as far as just fan experience. I think that's what Gloucester does the best. Like, the course is good, the racing is good, and all that, but the fan experience is second to none. It truly is.
Now, what I know of Gloucester is the big rock. Like, I know the picture of the rock, and I believe there's a lot of like neighborhood people that get mad about mud in the grass, or has that kind of been solved?
Oh no, the neighborhood people have always been a thorn in the side, which is kind of a bummer. They have to struggle, to get that race to happen every single year, despite it having been this long-standing thing forever, and also that they...
Like 20 years is generational at this point, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like just accept it's going to happen.
But I was recently informed, and I mean, I knew that they did landscaping and stuff after the race, but they are the only event all year that uses that park that does any landscaping afterwards at all. So, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where that people, get uppity about things that are benefiting the park for no real reason other than they don't like it. But anyway, that's all a side note. The rock is still there. I know that's where you were trying to get at. It hasn't moved. It looks about the same size as last time I saw it last year.
Do they ride up it?
They don't. They ride past it. It's a pretty big... I got to say it's probably 3 stories tall.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good
photo rock.
It's a big rock. Yeah.
Is it Plymouth Rock?
Yeah. No, that's in Plymouth. This is Gloucester.
Oh.
It's Gloucester Rock.
It's Gloucester Rock. It probably is Gloucester Rock. I actually don't know.
Which sounds like a weird subgenre of New England, like hair metal from the late 70s.
Gloucester Rock? I was going to... It sounds a little bit like Fraggle Rock. Like a little bit,
Yeah, it does that too, yeah.
It's a real offshoot of the Jim Henson classic.
I'd like to think it's a hair metal band.
Could be. Either way, the rock is kind of this photo op that you always see every year of the thing, and there's always a couple of spectators up on top of it who have managed to scale the rock and watch the race from up there. I have never been on top of that rock until today, you guys.
Yeah, we got the photo, and I love how you weren't in the photo.
No.
Like maybe your hand was in the photo with a thumbs up or like pointing.
No, I scaled the rock and I took in the views. It was breathtaking. It's a beautiful ocean view, lighthouse, and the whole park and the race and the festivities and all that. And shortly after I climbed up, someone else scrambled up behind me. One and only former U.S. national champion Jeremy Powers.
And your photo was very tasteful. It wasn't like, hey guys, I'm hanging out with Jeremy Powers. It was like, hey, you guys should come up to Gloucester next time. Check out this course. And then I had to zoom in to be like, oh, well done, Spencer. Like you're just hanging out with Jeremy Powers on top of the rock.
No, it's true. And he climbed up and he said, hey man, this is my first time up on this rock. I'm really excited. I've been here so many times. And I said, me too. So we you know,
you guys
we had a
bonded.
little bit of a moment. I mean, it's only like my, I don't know, 4th, 5th Gloucester, and probably his like, I don't think he's done all 20, but he's done pretty close to all 20. Anyway, that was a little fun moment. But the racing was awesome. Ellen Noble took the wins in the UCI women's race both days. She was on fire. She destroyed everyone. It was pretty baller.
Okay.
In the men's race, much more dynamic, much more interesting, but Curtis White did manage to take the win both days as well. Today was a group of 6 racing, attacking each other, different guys off the front all day long. It was super fun. Lane Mayer and Anthony Clark rounded out the podium for the men.
So
Lane Mayer, who's this street horse person?
He's a very fast, very young kid who is now on the Cannondale Cyclocross World Team along with Curtis White.
Figures.
Yep. And
was Gage Heck there by any chance?
I do not believe so. No.
Okay.
But Jamie Driscoll was in that group. Tobin Ortenblad was in that group. Spencer Petrov. You know, all the heroes.
I guess what place Jamie Driscoll got? Let me see. 5th.
So close. He was 4th.
Jamie, overachieving this weekend.
Wait, but on Saturday he was fit. No, just kidding.
It probably was.
Spencer.
Yeah.
My takeaway, like, people, if you want the results and the full recaps, I'm sure you can get like really good coverage on Crosshairs Radio, our sister show on the network.
Yep.
But Spencer, we need to get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
I think you put on a little bit of a clinic today, and you haven't hit it yet. So I'm gonna just, pop your bubble, burst your bubble before you have a chance to walk all over us.
Okay.
Your little wagon that you had that you brought to the pit.
Yeah.
Well done. I was very impressed. I've always been impressed that more people don't rock the wagon. And you had a nice wagon. It had the spare wheels. I saw some spare shoes in there because you were working the pit for your much better half, who was racing in the UCI women's race. And I mean, I think the folks over at Bike Shop CX could learn a thing or two after seeing that wagon being pulled.
I listened to their pit bag episode and all the tools and supplies you should have in the pit, and I thought, that's amazing. All that is correct, but how am I going to get it all there? So
exactly. And I've made that trek to a wheel pit several times at a cross race. It sucks.
Yeah.
But if I had a wagon, like
you need a small folding all-terrain wagon with little knobby wheels, little knobby tires on it, just like a cross bike.
Those knobs.
What was your PSI in the on the tires?
They're actually made out of hard plastic, so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I had the 2 wheel sets in there. It was a muddy day on Saturday, so I had the wash bucket in there with the brushes and everything from Service Course. I had the spare shoes, like you mentioned, my inflator, the normal tools and things that you need, to make any repairs, extra derailleur hangers, all that in the pit.
Did you have a lawn chair?
I did not. I did use the wagon to bring
Fail.
the lawn chair from the car to the team tent, though. So yes and no. I didn't need it in the pit, though. It's all business.
You're the pit boss. You're the pit boss of the podcast.
Yeah.
Is it frowned upon to bring like a lawn chair? Like could you like your racer goes by and then you're like, all right, I'm just gonna kick it back a little bit, settle down in my chair.
I don't think anybody would care, but I don't think you would actually be sitting down all that much.
Okay. So overall, the Gloucester report's good. We'll put up a picture of Spencer's little wagon up on the Instagram. You can find us at the Slow Ride Pod on IG. But little guy, that sounds like a news break because I believe that you actually raced cyclocross this weekend at the one and only Green Acres Cross in Minnesota.
I did. I raced both days. Local racing news. Boom, 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 boom. Probably the biggest race in Minnesota other than States. And the best race in Minnesota, I'd say. Best course. Yesterday was dry and sunny, and I sucked. And today was super muddy. It snowed maybe half an inch this morning, which is a very early snow.
Yeah.
And it made it crazy muddy. You guys have both seen this race. It's basically a giant tubing hill. So you go up a super steep climb, and then you chicane down it, and then there's some muddy stuff around a pond, and there's stairs and all kinds of craziness, and a big sandy hill, and it's got it all, and it was so muddy, and it was great. It was a ton of fun. Yeah, it was great. I don't know, and there was a lot of people there for a local Minnesota race. There was 40 plus toeing the line in the 1-2-3 race, so that's pretty big. But there's a lot of people from around the Midwest, and a bunch of fast Canadians came down.
Ooh, the mysterious Canadians from Thunder Bay and Winnipeg that every now and then make
I don't
the
know
trip
where they're
down?
from, but the guy who won today, and I totally forget his name, was a fast Canadian. So
how did you finish? Like, what were your results? You're the one that brings like validity to our podcast, so you better have had a decent
yesterday
result.
I would say I had a very off day. I was probably somewhere in the 30s out of around 40 some.
Ooh.
Today I was 8th out of about the
8th.
same.
Okay,
That's a
not
huge
bad.
turnaround.
So today
That's a huge turn.
it was a huge turnaround.
Did you get tested?
If you take both of those and you average them, I think it's safe to say you got 16th each day.
Yeah, basically.
Now, this was a you did get 16th each day if you're average. Thank you, Spencer, for doing the quick math. This is a 1-year anniversary since friend of the pod, Jay Hollywood Henderson, got tested by USADA
and
popped and busted for just being a little too high.
For the devil's lettuce.
For the devil's lettuce. And he was back on the podium. And the reason I bring this up is, guys, kind of big news. I want to give a shout out to Jay. I know Jay's been listening to our podcast for a long time. He's also listened to the old Bike Throw podcast when we used to do that back in the day. Hollywood Cycles is closing in Minneapolis after a 14-year run, and probably one of my favorite bike shops around. I don't know how Jay kept it open for 14 years, but he did. And major props, Jay, and good job this weekend, because I did see that you won in the 45 plus category and was not pulled for testing by USADA, so you win there as well.
Yeah,
so,
he's been racing good last
little
couple
guy,
years.
did you crash at all on the descent?
Nope. I didn't crash at all today. That was my super secret key to success, which is that I went fairly fast and didn't fall, whereas other people went faster than me and then fell, and other people went slower and fell, and I just went a pace and didn't fall.
This is a solid strategy.
Yeah, I think it's good. I've been working with different strategies through the years in cross. Sometimes I'm like, I'll go fast but fall. Sometimes I go slow and fall or don't fall. But I think this medium no fall thing is generally the best, just in terms of how I feel after the race and result.
So I guess I've got 2 questions for you, little guy. The first one, friend of the pod, Matt Leisinger, has, who also gave me the bike that I used to slay you guys at Schwamigan, told me that Minnesota cyclocross attendance has actually been fairly flat. How was the turnout at Green Acres this weekend? What's the temperature check on cyclocross in the Upper Midwest?
It seemed to be. I mean, like I said, it was a pretty big turnout from out of state. There was a lot of, around the Midwest people, a bunch of fast Canadians. I mean, today with the snow, it was a little bit down. A bunch of people didn't want to come out.
But it's real cyclocross weather.
Well, and you know how that works, right? When you have real air quotes, real cyclocross weather, attendance drops. Whereas Saturday's race was, 50 some and sunny, and it was gorgeous and it was great. But yeah, it was huge. It definitely looked like more to me, but he said it was about last year. But no, I mean, other races are definitely down.
All right. And then my second question, a little bit of a segue, but they are linked together, because when you walked into Green Acres this morning, I know they're actually yesterday and today, and you were paying for your race entry. I know you were planning on cashing in about 5 Valverde coins that you had picked up after he won the world championship. Value was skyrocketing.
It went way up.
And then after the UCI's recent, the reimagining of the Operation Puerto case, Valverde coins have absolutely plummeted. Did you have any issues trying to cash in Valverde coins today?
Well, I did. So, I pre-regged on Bike Reg, and I tried to use the little drop-down menu there to choose Valverde coins, and I got to say they only accepted PayPal and credit card, which I found a little funny, being as the third most common currency is the Valverde coin. So I put in a call to their 1-800 helpline, and I didn't get any help that could solve this problem. So I tried to bring them with and use them to buy a coffee at the food truck afterwards, and again, stymied. And I mean, I even offered him one Valverde coin, which is worth like $100 but instead they just wanted 4 quarters for this cup of coffee. So that was the frustrating part of the weekend, I gotta say.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying, totally frustrating. Valverde, totally, the value has plummeted.
I mean,
by this recent.
It's part of the risk of the inherent risk of a volatile investment, emerging market like Valverde as a world champion. It is proving to be volatile for him as well.
It's proven to be very volatile because, of course, the Spanish doping authorities answered the request of CONI, which is the Italian version of USADA, who just can't get it out of their mind that Moscon got crushed by Valverde at the World Championships, and now they're going after Valverde, who, mind you, already served a 2-year ban for Operation Puerto. So the fact that they're trying
Valverde?
They're trying to bring him back into it to really just nail down the fact that his blood was in there beyond just the DNA.
But we know it was his blood in there.
Before. But little guy, it's about a smear campaign to ruin the legacy of one of the few cyclists that's still around that didn't do the fake retirement. Like, I'm going to get angry here. He didn't do the fake retirement that my favorite guy at the time,
just denied it.
Mancebo did. He just denied it. He was like, he took his 2-year ban, then he moved on. And he is faster than everybody else in the world in that type of race, and it's fun to watch. And whatever, man. You can call me a doping apologist. I have absolutely no problem with it. I've been reading countless articles about like the consternation of if Valverde is a valid champion and how everyone now is going to talk about his doping. I don't care. Talk about his doping. He won the World Championships, and it looked damn good when he won it. And that bike that he's got now, the Canyon bike, with the crazy
weird excuses for the doping.
Almost stop the Canyon bike with almost the retro paint job, the retro Klein-esque paint job is beautiful. It matches the World Championship kit with the black shorts. Fantastic. He's now got the white arm warmers, so we can cut down on a little bit of the dark blue that he had before. It looks good.
Tim, let me just cut through all this, the pomp and circumstance you've got going on here. And I want to know, I think our listeners want to know, I think our listeners deserve to know, should they invest in Valverde coin? What is the futures?
They absolutely must invest in it because for multiple reasons. I'm an unbiased person. I am not going to make any money whatsoever by talking up Alejandro Valverde being a wonderful person, one of the best people around, and quite possibly it's an investment that you can't lose.
Okay.
Get all in on it now.
Do you guys think that when Italy actually gets the results of those blood bags, they might get a little quiet because there's going to be maybe a few more Italians on that list than they were hoping for?
But they're not going to release like that.
I mean, they all retired in 2006.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, other than
aside from Visconti,
Pipo's going to be on there.
I hope Moscon is on that list, and that like he was like 6 years old.
How will he be on that list?
He's like 7 years old, and he's like, he's at like the local
bike jumble.
The only list we're gonna find Moscon is on the party affiliation rolls for some far right party in northern Italy. Some like far right separatist party. That's the only thing that we're gonna find.
So let's cut to the chase. The fifth monument of cycling, kind of the precursor to the sixth monument of cycling, which is next week in Japan, was the Race of the Falling Leaves, the 112th running of Il Lombardia in Italy. And in 11th place was Alejandro Valverde, looking resplendent in the World Championship kit, only 131 down. 16th place was Dario Cataldo of the Astana team. But let's get right to it.
Yeah, who won?
Thibaut Pinot with a first place win 32 seconds over the Shark Nibali, and Dylan Toons in third place. Special shout out to Rigoberto Urán and Tim Wellens for riding out the Wide Angle Podium there. I watched the last 18K on a YouTube feed that was, I believe, Spanish, maybe Italian.
Oh,
and so I could understand.
Tim, you did it wrong.
Yeah?
You did it wrong. You've got to watch from 50K out because the tack comes really far out, and you got to watch it on the French feed like I did because it was nothing but periodic shouts of total pure
Bliss.
Just like they couldn't contain the happiness. Like the moment when Pinot finally cracked Nibali.
Yeah, that was at 18K.
Late in the race.
I watched that. Like I saw that.
That I wasn't looking at the race. I was like getting ready to go to Green Acres, but I had it on and I just heard this like scream and shout of French excitement, and I knew that finally one of his attacks had stuck and he'd gotten rid of the shark.
It was
it was a master class.
I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, like it was a good race. I'm not gonna watch 50K of it. I guess that I may be over the hump as far as like how much bike racing I want to watch right now. I was watching 8.5 hours of live coverage of Andrew Talansky dominating the Ironman Louisville today.
Yeah,
but
well, I could wear anybody out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I thought the final 15K was a lot of fun to watch. I was pretty stoked for Pinot. This is Pinot's first monument win, I believe.
Yep.
And so always great to see. I kind of wanted Nibali to win. I'm not going to lie. It'd be pretty cool to see Italian win.
It was good.
But
Pinot, man, I mean, I'm not saying you got to go watch the 50K, but I just want
because I'm
everyone to think. No, but I'm just saying that like very rarely is any race, any monument like that not settled, but like the race winning move comes that far out. Like when Pinot and Nibali went, they countered Roglic. Like that was really far out. Like I mean, that's just a huge tip of the hat.
Like sure, tip of the hat,
great.
but are you trying to tell me all those times Cancellara won? Like Flanders or Roubaix, he didn't attack from way out. And I mean, remember that's like the whole point of the video when he presses the button and he speeds up.
I don't feel like it was that far. I mean, somebody who's not me, you, or Spencer can go back and crunch the numbers about when the race winning moves go, like how many K out. But I feel like at these big races, more and more, they come down to winning moves going within the last 10K or something, and not that far out. Like it wasn't that they just win and they had a teammate. Like they went solo and held off the field. Like there was a point where EF Education First, presented by New Balance shoes and multiple colors, they had Martinez on the front of the peloton for a really long time, drilling it, to bring back that group to set up Iran and that huge VO2 max for the win. And they, nobody could do it. So it was impressive.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, yes, it's impressive. Watch the last 15K. That's all you need to watch.
Does this victory for Pinot usher in a renaissance of French cycling?
Wow. Spencer, perfect inclination. Like, oh man.
Yeah. I think we're already in a renaissance of French cycling. We didn't need this win to confirm it. I mean, Bardet's been close.
Little guy, you've been saying this for 15 years.
It's the wax seal on the outside of the scroll, that they're handing to the next generation of cycling. That French cycling is back, baby.
Okay.
That it is not.
It's back.
And, we will wait to see the result of the sixth monument in the Japan Cup here in the next week or so to confirm it. But I have a strong suspicion that France is on the way up, just like Valverde coin, guaranteed to succeed for the foreseeable future.
I mean,
if the French have some sort of currency, buy that.
Yeah.
I don't think they do.
You guys have been pressing this French Renaissance for about 15 years that we've been having the podcast either recorded or when we were sitting on the messenger bench in Minneapolis about how awesome French cycling is.
Yeah, it's but it's come a long way. I mean, think about it. When we were first
Absalon was
talking about this, like I was going on and on about Gadre, and about how he was the next best thing, and he pulled a Varank,
Christophe Moreau.
Now that's a cyclist.
Now I'm waiting for the Venezuelan Renaissance of cycling after Jose Rujano's awesome tours or Giro.
Tim, name another Venezuelan cyclist.
I don't know any.
All right, exactly.
That's why there needs to be a renaissance.
No, it's true. Maybe they're going to be like Colombia, because 5-6 years ago, I could have said Iran. I mean, and that would have been it. And now it's Bernal was there at the finish, like in the end of Lombardy for a while, and looking amazing. So.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it was pretty cool to see Lombardi, but can we also, Michael Woods in 13th place? I mean, is he slowly becoming the next, like, I know it's a little too early, but his results are starting to be eerily similar to a little Alejandro Valverde, and he might get a little bit more credit because he speaks English and he's American, which is awesome. And
he's not American, and he's really good, Tim.
He's awesome. His results have been fantastic. We are adopting him as American right now, and we don't need to like go over the fact that he's Canadian, but he came to the States to go to college at University of Michigan. Therefore, pretty sure I'm doing the back of the napkin math here is that we can adopt him as our own, because you know who is not having a renaissance? American cycling. It's actually pretty embarrassing outside of Ben King right now. And the fact that we have the individual pursuit record on the track with Ashton Lambie, we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, with the retirement of Tyler Farrar, what have we really had?
Well, and we're just talking about male cycling right now, because the women are doing more than enough to.
Yeah, the women's side is pulling its weight in more.
It's not even on
the Renaissance. The Renaissance is
for
over
sure.
there,
so
for sure.
It's not even a Renaissance. Apologies, that's very important to remember here. But oh man. Anyways, let's head into the preem lap, and when we come out, we got a great listener email, and also we've got to talk. We got to talk about some other things.
Yeah, I got a thing I wanted to say about Bling Matthews. So the other day
This is Sarah Graf, U.S. Olympian, and this is the Slow Ride Podcast.
Oh, what do you know? It's time for another preem lap, and here we are, once again, heading over to wideanglepodium.com to see the slew of shows that you can listen to and become a member or listener supporter. Special shout out to Crosshairs Radio, who continues to crush it, and all of the new subscribers and supporters of Crosshairs Television that have come on through the Wide Angle Podium Network subscribe button. What's great about it is you can go into the Wide Angle Podium support network, and you can actually choose the shows that you would like to support with some of your donations. So it goes straight back to the shows, and then also pays for the hosting and all of the other material uses, such as the quality microphones, things like that. So I would personally like to thank everybody that does it. But head over to wideanglepodium.com to learn more about our shows. Mm-hmm. And when you're there, there's a little banner on the side for Grimper Brothers Coffee, where you can get your very own bag of full Schleck coffee. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic. It's a delicious light roast that Grimper has especially formulated for the Wide Angle Podium for the listeners of the show to get you fueled up for your morning ride, for your morning commute, for your day at the office, for whatever you need. We're there for you. We've got the jersey unzipped, and we're ready to put that image right into your mind first thing in the morning. So if that's something that you think you'd be into, head over to grimperbrothers.com and get yourself a bag of full Schleck. It is, like I said, fresh roasted. When you order once a week, they gather up those orders, roast it all up, and ship it out to you. You have it in just a day or two there via priority mail. So it gets there right away, fresh and delicious for you.
That's right.
Do you guys think do you think the Schlecks shaved their chests, or they were just naturally that hairless? Do you think they're like mole rats?
Absolutely shaven, probably waxed.
Oh man, that's a lot of work. See, they went through a lot of effort so that we could appreciate their unzipped jersey ways. So go buy yourself some coffee. Mm-hmm. Bring it full circle.
And we have, I want to bring up in the preem lap. So we've had, over time, we've had a lot of great sponsors that have helped out with the podcast, Service Course. We've had Health IQ and many. And one of our original sponsors, early sponsors that we partnered with was Buckler Embrocation. And John Mason, the gentleman behind Buckler, makes some great product, and he lives in Tallahassee and absolutely got shredded by Hurricane Michael that came through. So just give a quick shout out to John with Buckler Embarkation. We're thinking of you. I know you still listen to the old show, and hope to do something with you in the future. But again, happy to see that you made it through the hurricane.
Yeah.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And in other Wide Angle Podium news, you touched on it briefly earlier. We do have a new addition to this family. Crosshairs Television, which Bill from Crosshairs Radio has been producing on his YouTube channel, is now officially part of the Wide Angle Podium Network.
Woo!
Yeah, it's super cool because it's our first foray into something that isn't a podcast. So, if you watch those videos, if you watch those recaps that he's doing of all the American cross racing, and you think that is something that you want to support or something you want to see more of, the support goes a long way to helping him. He doesn't have any sponsors at the moment for that endeavor. It is a labor of love. So if you want to toss him some bucks, you can do that through wideanglepodium.com /donate now, and you can allocate your funds to Slow Ride Podcast and Crosshairs Television.
Well, Spencer, with that, let's get back to the show.
What up? This is Storm Skoyinch, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
Guys, we got a fantastic email this week from Stephen Daly, who says, "Hey guys, did you see this article on cyclingmagazine.ca?" No, of course not. Cycling. Sorry.
No, I must have missed that one.
Regarding Rob Breton's bike packing prep for Worlds. Pretty cool, interesting, and timely, given the Warbass Tour and the recent Education First deal with Rafa. Is this the wave of the future? More to the point, I haven't heard much talk of Britain's contribution to Woods' bronze, though Woods did mention this post-race like a polite Canadian. Any thoughts on Canada's tactics for the day or small team tactics at Worlds overall? Keep up the good work. Always entertaining. Steve. And P.S. Canadian fact-checking. Steve Bauer took bronze, not silver, at the 1984 Worlds. Silver was at the 84 LA Olympics. And Canada is legalizing cannabis this month, not voting on it. LOL. Like a classic Canadian.
You guys messed that up.
We nailed it.
We messed it up. But the only part here is that Steve didn't apologize to us in the email. Like, he should have said, "Sorry to have to do this, guys, but some Canadian fact-checking."
I have to tell you you're wrong.
But let's go to Rob Breton's bike packing prep for Worlds. I know, Spencer, you had mentioned some of the riders that are starting to do this bike packing thing because of the Warbass Tour. And we're getting eerily close to what at one time was a joke that we had created here on the Slow Ride podcast.
Yeah, we had an episode called World Championships, camping on ships. I can't even pronounce it anymore.
We're going to have to change the name, but we were on point.
I bought the domain name, and for a while it redirected to our website. It has since lapsed because, it was just a mile, it was an
$8 joke.
Yeah, it was a time capsule joke. It didn't need to continue, but I may need to re-up that because I think we are getting, like you said, eerily close to a world championship level bikepacking event where, you have 10 days to get across Europe or something with only the things in your back and who can do it the fast, like something like that.
Well, they already do some of these events, right? Like they already do the Transalp Challenge or the Tour Divide. So it's only a matter of time before the UCI tries to needle their way into this and just ruin the fun for everybody.
That's the fear, right? Is that they'll create some rules and laws around it, and everybody will need 12 fall cars and 3 motorcycles. And
bare minimum.
Can you imagine?
Bare minimum.
So this whole thing, about I wasn't super familiar with Rob Britton's whole bike packing training camp, but it reminded me a lot of, remember Sven Tuft doing the old I'm gonna ride to the Prime Alliance camp from Vancouver all the way down to San Francisco.
He was,
and you'd hear these stories.
He was a Canadian as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I mean,
but
he says as much. Rob says as much. It was his inspiration was Sven, man.
Yeah, 1,700-kilometer trip from Calgary to Port Renfrew, British Columbia, with 60 pounds of gear and a couple of friends. That was his planning. I mean,
anything to get out of Calgary, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh.
Wow, good joke. I mean, I would just go to Edmonton, but no one really wants to be there. Except
they got
James
that
Neal,
hockey
apparently.
team, right?
So, anyway, big news in the world of cycling with the bike packing definitely happening. It's a matter of time. So, Spencer, who do you like off the top of your head? Who do you think would be the best bike packer in the World Tour?
The best bike packer in the World Tour currently, and I'm gonna strike Thomas de Gent and the guys that we know have recently done it. From this.
Because Sven Tufts is already like he's already in the Hall of Fame.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think there's no question that Adam Hansen would be a good choice. I think he could
Adam Hansen,
innovate his way into some pretty efficient bike packing. But I'm racking my brain to try and think of a French cyclist that would be good at it for the Renaissance that we are experiencing with them.
So it wouldn't be I'm all in on Adam Hansen being. Like, if we had to create a power ranking for the World Bike Packing Championships heading into it, Adam Hansen's definitely at the top for a variety of reasons. One is he can make stuff out of anything, right? He can make shoes.
Sure.
So he can probably make some kind of carbon fiber like pan to make like bean casserole on over the fire.
Yeah.
I think that you've got to. I don't know about a French rider. Whenever I think of a French rider in the Renaissance, I just think of Jimmy Casper. He would clearly not be a world champion bike packer.
No.
I think that there may be some other riders.
Yeah, I'm really struggling trying to think of a French rider as well. They may not be cut out for the bike packing. I'm not sure. I'll need to do more research. But one that does come to mind, Nathan Haas. I think Nathan Haas has what it takes.
You think so?
To be a champion level bike packer.
Why is that?
What makes you think that? Yeah, what makes you think that?
Well, I don't know really.
Okay, good reasoning. I like it.
I mean, he's got this quality about him. He's a workhorse kind of guy. He's not flashy. He's not gonna win a ton of races, but he's always doing the work. And I think that's what it takes. Like, that kind of mentality is what it takes to be a world champion bike packer.
I think I've said this before, but I think all the Nathan Haas press in the last 2 years, because he speaks English,
and that's another great reason is that he also speaks English. So he's definitely got championship qualities there.
He's not a bad rider. I just feel like the amount of press he gets is insane. But yeah,
I mean, there's just something about, like, when I think of the qualities of a bike packer, there's two different ways you can go. You can go the Sven Tufts / Adam Hansen way, which you're like old man strength. You're just going to crush it. You can, like, anything could happen to your bike. You'll find a way to fix it. Or you can go straight power way. Like, right. Like, you can be the Victor Campenaerts or the Primo Roglic style of just like, you're going to get on that bike and you are going to destroy that, but you're not even going to pack a bag because you are just going to go all the way across the the continent without stopping.
Well, the problem is if you don't pack a bag, then it's just randoneering. Like, where's the line? How's the UCI going to draw up the rules on this one, right? Because if you just got a little light bag just for with a jacket in it, it's randoneering. But if you've got a bag sticking off your seat post that looks kind of stupid and weighted wrong,
it's kind of fairing. Well, let's roll this right into the conversation that we were talking a little bit about in the podcast green room, and that was the announcement so it started with the announcement that Rafa is going to be the clothing sponsor for Education First, Cannondale, New Balance. And what their whole gimmick in their press release was that they're going to help create content for the team, with kind of the main buried detail here was that they're going to look at non-traditional racing. And I listened to an interview with Jonathan Vaughters over at Cycling Tips or Reddit, where he talks about the, what they're talking about. They're talking about fixed gear crits. They're talking about gravel racing. They're talking about events such as, kind of the bike packing around just to create the content of having fun on a bike. And Vaughters even goes out of his way to mention Ashton Lambie, the individual pursuit world record holder, and about how he got his start by working in a bike shop and then going to gravel races for fun. And so it's only a matter of time before Ashton Lambie apparently is signed to Education First. Maybe we'll have to get him on the podcast and break that news because we can decide for him that he's probably going to sign. And then at that point, like I'm just reading the tea leaves here.
Yeah.
So guys, is this the future, or is this just Vaughters being classic Vaughters? Like what can we expect from a World Tour team? What other teams are going to follow up on this type of thing, or is it just kind of Rafa PR that we're used to after 10 plus years of Rafa?
I don't know if it seems weird for World Tour teams. I'm sort of surprised it's not the angle that like American Conti teams are going at, and showing up to the big gravel events, because really it just feels like there's more press at that than at
But wouldn't you say that there's more? Like, why would you need to be a continental team? Like, to me, it's like, this is a no-brainer, though, little guy. Like, think big.
Well,
like, this needs to be every team, right?
Yeah, no, but I just think in terms of diversifying where your product is, which your product is your riders riding around with this stuff on, Like, but also, like, if this means that Mitch Docker is going to come to Almanza with me next year, I'm all for it. Mitch, you got to get your own way to Minneapolis, but I'll definitely give you a ride down to Spring Valley.
In the Vanagon? Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I got the secret camping spot that's free, so you can tell Vaughters right there we don't have to pay any hotel costs. I'll let you borrow one of my thermarests and a tent. And so right there you're saving money. And
Think about the content.
Yeah, the bakery in town is super cheap, so snacks, pre-race and post-race snacks. They got like pretty killer little crescent moon cookies and stuff. They're like 70 cents. It's the cheapest bakery in the world. So like it's not going to cost that much. So tell Vaughters it's a screaming deal.
All right. Now, Tim, you're looking at this from one angle, and I know it's because you got this interview from Vaughters, and he's talking about the team opening itself up to these other, gravel events and whatnot. But I actually...
And fixed gear crits.
Well,
I think...
Right. And you think, are more teams going to go this way, or should more teams go this way? And I think that change is already happening, but on the promoter side, like we are seeing more and more Strada Bianchi style races, Trobro Leone blowing up, getting more popular. We're seeing gravel sections in a lot more of the classics that we've been watching.
Perry Tours.
Yeah, Perry Tours, great example. And before too long, there'll be a fixed gear crit stage of the Tour de France, and that'll be that.
But Spencer, I think
I hope so.
Yes, you're making a good point that there's the gravel inclusion in these races. But I guess that to clarify, and I'm not, and you're not making this assumption, but I want to put on that it's going to non-UCI events that I find really appealing here. Like they're basically saying, you know what? We don't even care about the UCI and what that does for our brand because it really doesn't do anything. We're going to Dirty Kansas, now owned by Lifetime. We're going to go to Red Hook Crit, which is, got Red Bull or whoever all behind it. Like you've got, there's so much more publicity.
The thing is they can't do that because the UCI
they can't
rules
do that.
say you can't participate outside UCI events. So
why were there Pro Tour riders at Red Hook this year?
They could send one rider maybe, but they can't send a team. Remember when Lance and his fellow dopers went to do Gila and they had to form their own special doper team?
But that was a UCI race. That's the thing, though. Like the UCI is going to have to make a stand because the difference is what you should be saying, little guy, is remember how Tyler Hamilton showed up at a training crit in Boulder that was promoted by ABRA and not a UCI recognized governing body, and then that was an issue because they started going after the riders that he was racing against. The difference is that Dirty Kansas or WTC events aren't even in the spectrum of what UCI does. And I think that's
So there's no former dopers at all racing Red Hook crits or anything like that?
I'm sure they are.
Okay.
Probably.
So they could find a way to make this not happen if they decided they didn't want it to happen.
Sure, if they want to, but I think that would be like the death knell of like if they're willing to do that.
If there's anything the
really
UCI is good at, it is putting the death knell into good ideas.
Okay, so let's say that goes away, but then all of a sudden the team Education First decides like, you know what? We're going to do our own competition of racing across the state of Minnesota, and we're just going to set the record and see who could beat it. Like they can do that and create the videos and all that, and I think that's got some pull. It's something unique. I'm excited for it, and other teams need to go after it. We've already seen the former pros showing up at events like Southern Cross. We talked about it last week with, Hein Cappy and Lance showing up, and Danielson and Van de Velde. But it captivated a lot of people who are showing up because domestic racing in the U.S. is dead. And outside of the Tour de France, you have these races that people don't even care about that are on the UCI World Tour calendar. I'm all in on this. I think this is the way teams do need to go.
Well, I mean, I think this.
I agree with you.
This outside the box is a smart move for the future, and I think races like the Hammer Series are smart moves for the future as well. So like we need growth, we need something different. We need to not totally abandon the 6 monuments of cycling, obviously, but we do need to think outside of the box.
Did the last bit of the Hammer Series happen this weekend, or is it next weekend?
It happened
this weekend.
Okay, we don't know, but none of us know anything about it, correct? Because I don't know.
We know that Mitchelton Scott has taken the victory overall in the Hammer Series for this year.
Speaking of Mitchelton Scott, I was on a ride with an individual that has the Arrow helmet from Team Mitchelton Scott.
Oh, did it look too big?
It looked too big. It's an oddly shaped helmet. I was going to say that.
Yeah,
but
wind tunnel tested.
There are some helmets that some people can pull off. Like I really like how the Kask helmet looks with the really low profile. Mm-hmm. Certain riders can pull that off. It kind of reminds me of an old like late 80s, early 90s helmet where you're like, I don't know if that thing has much structural integrity. It's like one step up from like a hairnet, but it's not the styrofoam with the Lycra cover. So I'm like, all right, that's a good looking helmet. I also think the POC Octo helmet can look good if you're like a size small, maybe medium, but if you need like an extra large
back, sir.
If you need an extra large,
no, come on,
POC helmet,
dude,
it's way too big.
Looks
you
good.
have
been watching too much cycling.
No, Ron looks like a man from the future when he's got that POC helmet on and he's got those sunglasses on and he's got some goofy kid on out training or just the EF kid on. Like Iran look like he pulls off the POC helmet.
No, I'd say Michael Woods pulls off the POC helmet way better than Uran.
I don't know.
No? All right. Well, I'm just saying that there's some helmets that look good for others. Like I have the new laser helmet and I don't know if I pull it off because it's got that weird like temple protection thing.
I don't love
that.
But
Greipel looked okay in it.
Mm-hmm.
It like kind of counterbalanced his jaw, like his jawline. A very nice framed look.
He's always been searching for one.
But anyways, I know I talk a lot about Arrow helmets, but seeing the Mitchelton Scott Arrow helmet in person, oh man.
Aren't all helmets Arrow helmets now?
Yeah, basically.
No, it's the stupidest trend ever.
Name me one helmet that's not an Arrow helmet.
Spencer, I understand where you're going across. Like, there's way too many Arrow helmets out there. Little guy agreed. I do think that if we were going to buy stock, we should buy stock in some kind of like helmet future that is just like the more holes, the better. Because I feel like that's going to come back around in about like 5 years. People are going to be like, oh, this one's got more breathability.
Wait. Well, let's pause the podcast while I call up my trader at the Chicago Helmet Board of Trade.
All right.
And get $50 on more holes for next season.
So guys, I was reading the latest Geraint Thomas book. It reads a little bit like a Jean Leclerc spy novel because
wow,
I don't know how it ends, but it's a real page turner because they're investigating who stole Geraint Thomas's Tour de France trophy.
Yeah, that's a weird thing that happened.
It is a weird thing.
Who took the trophy, guys?
So you guys noticed that Lance offered to give one of his trophies to Thomas? I think Lance actually stole the trophy.
Very curious. How did he get so many?
I think he stole it.
You think he stole it? Look, I gotta say though, that was a pretty hilarious tweet from Lance. I really liked that kind of just like I don't like he doesn't care anymore. I thought, man, I'm becoming the biggest apologist in the world. Anyways,
you're the biggest apologist. That's not. I mean, Lance did that so everyone would talk about him and everyone would think about him and think he's relevant again and think, oh, maybe he's a nice guy. He's not a nice guy.
He's got a couple stolen trophies that he can get.
Yeah. So Lance tweets out, I've got 8 trophies. If you want one, no problem. and now everybody's in a tussle about whether or not Lance really won all these tours, and nobody can even remember because the history books have been erased.
So. Who stole Geraint Thomas? You guys think Lance has it. I want to know what Chris Froome was doing in the last month and a half. Like, I need details.
Some whereabouts.
It's someone within Team Sky, right? Like, let's just assume it's someone within Sky. So,
Bernal stole it.
Bernal, I don't know if he stole it because he's got 5 years worth of record contract money to buy one from Lance. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't need to do the dirty work. So then you start thinking who was it? Or is it a jaded member of Team Sky? I would say, is it Leopold Koenig? One of my favorite riders. Went to Sky, totally disappeared. Seems just like the type of guy that maybe would go steal the trophy and say, that could have been mine. I don't know.
Could have been.
It's possible. I mean, what about somebody who had an off year? Somebody like a Michael Kwiatkowski who wanted to do really well at a Grand Tour, or is maybe being bred for a Grand Tour in the future, wanted to see how it looked on the trophy shelf, was going to give it back, and then the press got hold of it, and now he doesn't know what to do.
Oh, he's too ashamed. He's too embarrassed to bring it back.
Or was it Moscone?
He is the criminal.
It was probably Moscone.
He's probably got the record, if anyone on Team Sky. Well, we've solved it, you guys.
We solved it. Spencer, you were talking a little bit in the podcast green room about the UCI rules, in particular in relation to women's racing and the schedule of racing, like women's racing last.
Yeah.
For cross?
We saw that at the World Cups at Trek and at Jungle Cross with the elite schedules being reversed from the norm with the women going in the marquee spot. We tried to do that this past weekend here at Gloucester and the whole series in New England. And they got a note from the UCI a few days before the event saying, oh yeah, you can't do that. It's against the rules. To which everyone said, do you have a rule about that? So yeah, it is a rule in the UCI rule book that without an approved waiver from the UCI, you can't schedule the women in the marquee spot.
Wow. So you need to get approval to do this.
Yeah, which seems weird. Like,
because they got a standard schedule.
Who cares? Like, if all the races happen for their appropriate race lengths, that should be the.
Well, that's assuming that the races actually run the appropriate.
Well, sure, we are assuming a lot, yes, but
what do you think the rationale is? I would assume the rationale is that they sell it to sponsors as this is when you can expect the marquee race, and the assumption is that the marquee race is the men's race, which has been proven for the last multiple years, 2 years in particular. The women's race is by far the best and the most exciting racing out there. Mm-hmm. And so it's this assumption of a male-dominated sport, and therefore the men should be the marquee race, and that's what's sold to sponsors. Is that the UCI's rationale here?
But what?
Probably.
If you're talking about banners around the course and things like that, they're the same for both races, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about when broadcasters are planning their schedules, if they went in with one schedule as opposed to a different schedule, I mean, that could be part of the writing of the rule. Maybe it's because Vanderpoel likes to eat breakfast at 9, and if he runs before the women's race, he's got to eat it at 8. And so he called him up and was like, "I'm eating at 9, boys."
That's probably as much accurate as anything we could come up with.
Then he bunny hopped him.
Well, with that sad news of the UCI once again stepping on their own I don't even know, their own tail, to ruin bike racing on something that was cool, we're going to take you to the end of the Slow Ride podcast. So make sure you check us out on Twitter and Instagram at the Slow Ride Pod. Also, rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps others find the show. And, we like reading the reviews on the air. I would also like to personally thank Buckler on Vacation as John works through the hurricane damage, and Rhymesayers Entertainment, BK1, for the track Tim Do Cannibal off the album Radio Do Cannibal. And this is Tim in Orlando, Florida.
This is Matt in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And this is Spencer in Boston, Massachusetts, reminding you to always wave at all your fellow cyclists that you see out on the road.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod.